taking a peek at the steering wheel as well as the cluster screen inside of the Nissan Pathfinder. First thing I'm going to point out, the steering wheel is actually really comfortable inside the ride. And you're going to find the option for a heated steering wheel, so you can just easily toggle it on or off there. You're either going to have a power telescoping or a manual telescoping steering wheel, just depending on the trim level of the vehicle that you're in. This one is power, and you can see just down there, you've got your switch. So you can go forwards, backwards, up and down to create that perfect position for you. Once you have that perfect position, you could also set up your driver's seat the way that you'd like to, along with your side view mirrors. And then once those are all set up, you could then just push set and then either 1 or 2 for it to remember your own personal profile. Very useful if there are multiple people driving the vehicle, because you could just hop in, push it in order for it to adjust everything back to the way that you like it set up. It's amazing. Stick on the left-hand side. There's a button on the tip of the stick there for your auto lamp mode, but you can also select between a few different light modes as well, so you can adjust up and down. Honestly, just recommend being in auto mode the majority of the time, unless you want to make sure that your high beams are permanently locked out. Because in the auto mode with this turned on, what that means is that if the vehicle recognizes your high beams are needed, it's automatically going to turn them on. If somebody's oncoming, it's going to dim them before turning them right back up again. But if you go into your top light mode instead, you could then push away to lock on your high beams permanently, and if you want to. And then you can easily flash out your high beams regardless of which mode you're in. You can turn your fog lamps on or off as well using the switch there. And then, as I mentioned, your high beams as well. Along this side, it's going to be controls for your wipers. So you've got different modes available. Auto mode lets you then adjust the speed by going up and down this way. So it's essentially like an intermittent wiper, or you can go into one of that hyper quick mode instead. You can then pull in towards you for the front wiper fluid, push away to get that rear wiper fluid going, and you can adjust your rear wiper using the tip of that stick. So either off, intermittent, slow, or a faster wipe instead. But very straightforward. Then a series of different buttons. So the ones on the left side here, you've got a volume rocker, so you can easily adjust out your volume there. There's no mute button though. So if you wanted to mute, you have to go down there or turn off the screen this way. You can also adjust your volume that way instead. You could then, actually that's perfect. So we can adjust through the cluster screen there. Yeah, I'll save that for a second. So you can adjust through your cluster screen this way. And then you've also got the option of jumping between different stations, or in this case, the USB audio. So if we go into, let's go FM for a second there, you could then also jump in between all of your available presets. But if you're on AM, FM, Sirius XM, if you do a longer press and hold, that acts as a seek button instead, which is kind of neat. This button is going to let you go through the cluster screen as well, which again, I'll touch on that one once we zoom in. Along this side, there's a voice command prompt, so you'd be able to do things like you could change songs, radio stations, navigate using your voice, and a whole host of other features. One thing that I'd actually recommend is when you first get your vehicle, I'd recommend, honestly, I would spend a little bit of time getting used to this setting because there are so many things that you can do inside of the screen, well, specifically with your voice assistant. You can answer or hang up on a phone call, and then the buttons along the side here are all for the adaptive cruise control system. So you can toggle it on this way. This is a distance indicator. So it's how close or far are you away from the vehicle that's in front of you. So I want you to think of it like a 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi type of a rule. And then from there, once you get to the speed that you'd like, you can push down to set your speed and then increase or decrease 1 kilometer or 1 mile per hour at a time. But if you actually want to see the adaptive cruise control system used in person, you'll find a walkthrough down in the description of this video. And then, paddle shifters. Love me my paddle shifter. So you've got your minus on the left, plus on the right-hand side. So you could drop down if you want to pick up a little bit more speed in order to pass somebody easier. And then you can also rely on engine braking this way. If you want a walkthrough on how paddle shifters actually work, you'll also find that walkthrough in the description. But let's move in because there's a lot of stuff about this cluster screen that you need to know. So first thing I'm going to point out, you've got your tachometer off to the left side. You've got your speedometer off to the right side, your current odometer reading, what gear you're currently in, your total fuel level, along with total reading. So right now I've got about, 7/8 of a tank, roughly inside the vehicle right now. You've got the outside temperature along with the current time. And then I'm in Canada, so you've got your kilometers per hour there, and then a little digital speed along the bottom right side, which you can actually adjust, but I'll show you that one as we get through. There's also the option of shifting to a few different drive modes as well. But you can see there, it changes out what mode you're in along this side. Honestly, I love me my sport mode, so I would drive sport mode typically on just the regular streets, and then I drop into eco mode when I'm on the highway. You can keep yourself in auto mode though, and then you've got snow mode, which is going to play with your traction stability control, mud, ruts, and sand, which will do the same thing as well. But useful if your plan is to take the vehicle off-road. It's kind of neat. Yeah, like I said, I love me my sport mode. Oh, that's good. Yeah, it takes a second in order to lock it in. And yeah, the benefit of the sport mode is rather than it shifting, let's say maybe at like 2,000 RPM, it might wait and shift at like 3,500 or 4,000 RPM instead. So it just gives you an infinitely sportier performance in comparison. And then you've got these rockers going up and down, and then this button here. So this one is going to be your shortcut menu, so you can change your view. Changing your view, I mean, that's pretty neat too. I don't know, what do you think? You like that mode better? Or do you prefer this mode instead? Both pretty nice. You can adjust your audio source this way, so change it out to AM, FM, Sirius XM. So it's essentially whatever available sources you've got. You can go to your driver assistance instead, so lane assist with your warning. So if you start to veer over into a lane without signaling, you'll get a little bit of a warning, so steering wheel shake. Intervention can nudge you back into your lane. And then the vibration that you get when you start to veer over. So low, middle, or high. Honestly, it feels like you're running over rumble pavement or there's something wrong with your alignment, but chances are that you're just changing a lane without signaling, and that's why it's happening. And then you've also got your personal display with your fuel economy there, but you've got the flexibility of adjusting it out to different options there. Honestly, the fuel economy one is kind of neat, having it in there instead. But yeah, you've got the flexibility of adjusting it out, including just something blank instead. But if you had a route going, that would also show up. Actually, why don't we do that?
Please say or select a command.
Navigate to Tim Hortons.
Please wait. Navigate to Tim Hortons. Please say or select a 3. Calculate route or adjust location.
Calculate route.
Calculating route. The
All right.
route calculation is complete. Proceed to the nearest road.
Perfect, there we go. So we've got that route going, and if we were to go back into our personal display now, and we're looking for navigation. There we go. So as we start driving, you'll get your notifications there as you go. And then if we shoot across, there we go, to navigation. Oh, Bueller, there we go, look at that, little mapping cluster. Love, love, love that. I'm going to keep that route going for just a second here. But you've got your basic shortcut menu, which is kind of nice. And then you've got a whole host of other screens that are available too. So you've got your basic home screen there. And then there's also your trip counters. So you've got your basic counter there. You can also reset. So all you're going to do is push the OK button in. So push and hold. And then you can reset all items, fuel economy, average, etc. So a number of other options. Fuel economy is a little bit high right now just because I'm sitting here doing an explainer video, but it's really good at the same, like I've been averaging a little bit lower than that. So highway driving, I was able to get down to about 7.8 liters per 100, which is pretty solid. And then you've got a few other counters there. Your 4x4 mode, so you can see what's going on with your tire pressure as you start driving, and a few other things. So which wheel is getting which amount of power. Navigation is available there, so you've got your mapping cluster, which direction are you facing, or just a naked screen instead. And then from there, you've also got what source you're currently listening to. So you'll see a few of these things repeated, but you can also adjust it out, which is kind of nice. And then your speed limit sign with a few other options there. So it's more or less your basic driver assistance settings. So if you wanted to turn these things off, you do technically have the flexibility to do it. So we hop in, the lane assist, so that's the one that's potentially going to nudge you back into your lane. Hopping back, and your blind spot assist. So if somebody enters the blind spot on either side of the vehicle, it can let you know. And then emergency assist with auto braking. So if there's a potential accident in front of you, it's going to slam on the brakes for you. If you're backing up and you don't see an obstacle behind you, it can automatically brake for you as well. But it's nice because you can turn these things off if they're going to drive you nuts. And then I think there's just one more, this one has a ton of settings. So this is your traction stability control. Driver assistance settings, steering assist. So there's a button just by your left knee, and you can toggle that on or off as well. It only works when you've got the adaptive cruise control system going, but it's not full self-driving, but it keeps you perfectly balanced in your lane as you go. It's a really good system. There's also lane assist, which we've already seen. Blind spot and emergency assist are duplicated here as well. Do you want to show your speed limit sign, yay or nay? Speed adjustment based off of your route. Yeah, speed limit assist. I'm not a fan of that one, so I'm going to turn that off. Manual is kind of neat. So the way that the speed limit assist works is that if you're in manual mode, let's say if you've got the adaptive cruise going and the speed goes from 70 to 100, it's going to let you know that you can then push up in order to be able to increase your speed to that level. And it's the same thing if the speed decreases. You can have it automatically do it for you, or no speed limit assist whatsoever. Parking aids, there's also a few different things, front versus rear. So as you're backing up or pulling forward, if there are obstacles in front of you, you'll get a little beep. How far do you want it before you get that beep? And then how loud do you want it to be? Medium, in my opinion, is the best. That one's going to be a matter of preference. Cross-traffic alert. If somebody's coming perpendicular from you as you go to back up, it's going to let you know of a potential collision. Alertness, if you start to veer over too many times without signaling, eventually it's going to tell you that you should probably take a break. And then there are timer alerts and then low temperature as well. Personal display off to the side there, so what do you want showing up? Honestly, fuel economy is kind of a useful one, I think. Yeah, you've got trip counters and things like that instead. And there's also a head-up display. Will you be able to see it okay here? Yes, you can. So you've got a head-up display available there. You can adjust the brightness. I always recommend maximum brightness. And then it's interesting. So hold on, I'm going to show you something neat. So with your polarized sunglasses on, it's actually really tricky to see what's going on inside of the head-up display. So if you have a tendency to wear polarized glasses when you see, a little bit tricky. With it maximum brightness, it makes it a little bit easier, but not much at the same time. You can also adjust the height, so move it up and down just based off of your personal height. You can rotate it, and then you can also figure out what's showing up. So if there was a route actively going, it could show up there. Driving assistance, speed limit assist, and a few other things as well. Then you can reset it back. So there are quite a few different options that are available, which is kind of neat. And from there, you've also got eco mode settings. So driving in eco mode, that's where you're going for the best possible fuel economy. So if you want the best economy out of the vehicle, you definitely want to go that way, and then you can adjust a few different things. So do you get the idle and stopped, driving assistant? Do you want to get a driving report for eco driving? Yeah, like I said, if you're an economically conscious driver, you want the best fuel economy, having all of these settings on, very useful. You can also select if you're getting your tire pressure in PSI, KPA, bar, etc. Your clock. Do you want to have it on or not? Yay or nay? And then with it on, you've got a few different options. So there are 3 modes. So there's an auto mode, so the vehicle figures out the time. You can set it to manual, and then from there, you can manually set the clock along the very bottom. But there's also a time zone lockout. Where that comes into play is, let's say if you straddle a time zone and you're constantly flipping back and forth between a time, you can permanently lock it out to an individual time zone instead. For most people though, you'll probably just be okay in the auto mode. And then from there, you've got your 12 versus 24-hour mode instead. Vehicle settings, power back door, so that the button along the back, you can technically toggle it off if you want to. Vehicle lighting, do you want to get your headlamps on when you first walk up to the vehicle? Accent lighting, so some ambient light on the inside. Very subtle, but kind of neat. And then light off delay, so when you go to lock the vehicle, do the lamps just turn off, or do they stay on for up to 3 minutes? Matter of preference. Locking, let's see, the big one here. When do you want the doors to automatically unlock? Do you want it to unlock when you park, when you turn the vehicle off, or do you never want it to automatically unlock? So that one's good from a safety perspective. When you go to lock the vehicle, do you want to get a horn sound letting you know that it's locked? Ooh, walk-away lock, super useful. So as you walk away from the vehicle with the fob on you, it's automatically going to lock the doors for you too. And do you automatically want it to unlock the doors as you approach? Wipers, rain sensing, yay, nay, reverse. If you've got your wipers going in the front and you go to reverse, it's going to turn on those rear wipers for you. Driving position. So on this one, it's kind of neat. But with these turned on, what's going to happen is if they're on and you go to turn the vehicle off, it's going to push the steering wheel forward and back the seat up for you to get in and out of the vehicle a little bit easier. rear door alert. So if the back door is open there, you'll get notifications. Maintenance, so if you're doing work yourself, you can automatically adjust these out, reset them as necessary. You can customize the display a teeny little bit, which we've already seen some of this, but which option do you want there? TPMS sensors, 4x4, stop, navigation. Definitely the way to go. I'm personally a bigger fan of just having that map and cluster available. Route guidance, do you want to get alerts? Welcome effect when you first turn on the vehicle. And unit language, useful one. So do you want to be in kilometers, liters, etc., or miles per gallon? And when you switch out, you saw there, it automatically is going to jump you into either kilometers or miles. But along the very bottom, when you're in miles, it defaults you to that kilometer speed, versus if you're in kilometers, it defaults you to the miles instead. What do you want your tire pressure to be in, along with your temperature reading? And what language do you want? English, French, or Spanish? And then factory reset, so you can bring this back to the factory default instead. So I know that that's a lot of information, but that's everything you need to know about the steering wheel as well as the cluster screen inside of the Nissan Pathfinder.